Dolphins. But just talk about the changes as far as Jack Del Rio gone, and now Ron Rivera is calling the plays now.
I mean, that's what it is. Just a lot of change in this business. That's what I've learned very quickly, mostly through players coming in and out of the locker room. Obviously, at Clemson, I wasn't used to a lot of change there. I just know, but my dad being a coach, I've understood that that's just this part of the business. So I appreciated, everything that Coach Del Rio did for us. But obviously, like you said, there was a change made. So we're just going to pivot and, just be great where our feet are. Regardless of whoever is directing me, when I get on the field, that they just are making the calls and trying to put us in the best position possible, which I think Coach Rivera will do the same. But I have to, to be the one to control and be accountable of how I play. So I don't think whoever is coaching is going to dictate how hard I play or how I play.
This is my fourth year here, so I've been used to having Jack and Vise out there and things like that. So it's definitely a little weird. I mean, we'll just see how Coach Rivera calls it. I know he definitely is looking to just simplify stuff a little bit, and so we'll see how he calls it, and we're just excited to go out there. For us as players, you want to go out there and execute whatever your coaches give you.
I mean, you know what kind of players they have: Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, running backs who are just super explosive and athletic. So for me, got to be able to stop the run. They're going to attack our edges. We got to be stout on the edge and got to have a lot of great pursuits of the ball. When they do throw the ball, you got to be into his face, make him uncomfortable, and try to rattle him.
All right, welcome to another edition of In the Minute. As you know, it's nobody here but me and Donna Hopkins. We're the only one who show up. There's been so many changes. We thought they had changed us before we got here, Donna. They changing coaches, they're getting new players. What's up?
Hey, Tony, I know we the only ones brave enough to show up, but it's a lot of things going over this Commanders team. They let go Jack Del Rio and also the defensive back coach, Brent Myers. And so, they got a new guy in here, they brought in to try to help this team moving forward. They brought in defensive back coach Jim Sargano. He was formerly with the Buffalo Bills as far as, DB back coach. Before coming here, Tony, as far as he was with Michigan State's state staff in 2023, and when Mel Tucker got fired for Michigan, then that was over there. But Coach Rivera said that he's been here before too. So Tony, when you're facing a Miami Dolphins team coming in here and you're making all these coaching changes on the defensive side of the ball, Ron Rivera is going to call the plays. The first time he's done this since 2018. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I look at it like this. In this point of the year, it's either an audition to stay here or audition for a new team. Every time they go out there, and that's coaches and players alike, they might as well understand they are out there auditioning right now. Auditioning, do you still want to stay here with the Commanders or auditioning for another team? When you have a record like they have, and you have the disarray, and really almost no opportunity, you got to win 8 games against 7 real good opponents. I don't know if you can pull that off, but at the one time you can't lose faith down there. I mean, one team, the worst team I was on, we were 2-14, and I tell you couldn't feel any worse than that.
Hey Tony, at 2-14, you basically just trying to survive.
Exactly, and every week.
Yeah, with a team at 2-5, and the Commanders are at 4-8 right now. And when you constantly lose a week in and week out, it's hard to come in. I know, it's your job, but losing, it's tough, Tony, to keep you up and moving forward.
It's a little bit harder now, Donna. When we played, we didn't make the kind of money they make. So it was more than losing your job. It was more than you losing income for your family. And when you look at it now, they pay these young players for potential. They look at this potential and that potential, and then they pay them. And then when they do not perform, it's a problem. I still think, Donna, and I want this podcast, but I want people to know, I've always felt pay the players the amount you want to pay them, but put it in increments. In other words, your first 3 years of a big contract, you get no more than $100,000 a year, and everything else in incentives. Now, the rest of the millions you were going to make, we're going to put in a fund for you. So in 10 years, you and your family be doing what? They don't do that. So these players get paid, and all they look at right now, I'm professional, and that's what's right now. They're going through things. You got coaches that's leaving. Right now, everybody is safe.
They ain't leaving, Tony. They leaving all right. They got
I
fired.
know, they know that. You know what, Donna? That's the bad thing about it. It's just like on the podcast or on the TV show. I'm gonna just have to tell you this in front of everybody. If you make another mistake, we're gonna have to start looking around, okay?
Hey, I didn't make no mistakes, Tony, because I told you I was talking about the defensive back coach, Chris Harris, that was here with this Commanders team. When he was the defensive back coach, Tony, you could just feel his energy when you were out there at practice. This team was ranked eighth, Tony, passing. The bottom dropped out of the barrel this year.
Oh, wait, are you telling me they were eighth because of him, or
no? I'm just saying that they played better under him because he was a solid coach, Tony. He wasn't no guy that just came out of the high school ranks. I'm not saying anything about that it can't be done, but they brought in, when you're trying to put a team together and you're putting your coaching staff together, you don't have time to do favors, Tony, to say, I'm bringing you in here because I know you. I want to help you to get started. No, with this Commanders team being in disarray when they were hiring Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera, you've got to bring in strong coaches with you. You don't have time to bring in these coaches that they don't know what they're doing. Now, when you let Chris Harris get away and you didn't know that his contract was ending, well, Tony, you had a problem right there with that. Hold on for again, because they're calling me because they want me to be the general manager.
See,
but,
now that's what I said. They mad at you now. See, you talk bad about why they listen to us on the
yeah, but again, when you bring in coaches that's not qualified, and you know that you're coming into an organization that's had problems, with management, with this team losing. You can't afford to bring in coaches like that. So you let Chris Harris get away, and you had this guy come in, Brent. This secondary, Tony, did not look that bad until this year when the bottom dropped out. And when in that Dallas game, it was so bad, Tony, that they should have just packed up their bags at halftime and just jumped on that plane because it just went downhill. But Tony, talk about Jack Del Rio. What did you see in him coach-wise over these years? And again, like I said, the other coaches, because they said that his defense was so complex. Why did he not simplify it for these players?
Well, he was doing what he do best, and let's digress and go back when you're saying that they're bringing in unqualified people. That's been a trait of the NFL nepotism for the years. They're bringing people that have no idea about the game, and they have players that play 15, 20 years that can still indicate what the game is about, and they don't even give them opportunity. They bring in junior, or they bring in nephew, or they bring in friend, or they bring in, and that's the quality of coaches you have. Not all of them, but with a lot of them. Now, if you look at this whole situation, and what was your second question? I want to make sure.
I was just saying about the coaching in general, as far as across the board on.
No, you asked me about Del Rio.
Well, yeah, I asked you about Coach Del Rio. What did you see was his downfall with this team?
That's why I wanted you to repeat that. I don't know if it's his downfall with the team, or I've looked through his, and was he not at San Diego or somewhere at the time? He'd been different places.
Carolina with Coach Rivera.
I remember him as a player, but I can never remember him being in the running for defensive coach of the year, or his unit as being number one, number two. And I think that Clarence Hill said something the other day that was very important. The things and the comments that he made back in the offseason a couple of years ago, I think hurt this team. I think it's not to fire him, but they should, and maybe they should have let him get up and address his guys and let them know, look, we're not into politics. We're not in the color. We're in the football. We're in the winning. And maybe I made some comments that was uncomfortable, but I didn't mean it the way, but I just gave you my thought. Something like that. You hear the comments he made, and then you hear no apologies or nothing. Then you look at him having 4 to 6, 7, number one draft choices on his defense, and they barely got up to maybe 10 for something last year. And this year, they're 28 for something. You know that it's time. So to speak about it, I don't think he did a good job. But I think the communication probably was a little bit more dull after he made a statement and made it harder for him to do his job.
Yeah, Tony, but even this year, when you look at this defense coming in, and you know, everybody was gun ho about, ooh, yeah, this defense is solid. You know, they didn't lose anybody. They built the defensive line, like you said. When you build a football team, you start with the line play on both sides of the ball. Well, they were basically had done that for the defensive side of the ball with Allen and Payne. You know, they just gave them new contracts, and those were your run stoppers in the middle. And then you had
we thought, Donna. We thought.
Yeah, we thought. And then you had Sweat, and then you had Chase coming back. So when you look at this team up front, you say, oh man, we had this team put together. And then you look at the secondary, the linebacker play probably is the weakest link on this team that needs to be needs to be better, Tony, because I told you Josh Allen, this is a guy that is with the Jaguars. He's available outside linebacker. He's already got 12 sacks on the year, Tony. This guy can play, but you're going to have to pay him a lot of money if you want him to come in. And as you said on the show, they got a lot of money build up. But Tony, but when you look at the scope of this defense and Jack Del Rio and what he had the tools to make this defense better than what we've seen this year. From last year to this year, it's almost like night and day. So I'm trying to understand what's the biggest disconnect among the defensive back coach that shouldn't have been coaching here. But other than that, you had all the pieces put together. How do you expect this team to be better when you let go of the Chase Young and the Montez Sweat? Payne and Allen hasn't played up to form. And I'm trying to wrap my head around what has gone wrong with a Jack Del Rio's defense that you didn't have at the start of the season. You had all the pieces in place.
Maybe they shut him out because they didn't like the comments, and players have a propensity to do that.
You mean to say you can't forget and forgive?
No, but you can forgive, but you don't really forget. I mean, I even heard the statement, and I heard it from other people, and I've still been waiting for an apology, but you know what? Why should I wait for one? He thought he was saying the right things, and maybe I say some things that are not true, but it's the same thing you said, well, why couldn't we improve? The only way we could have improved this year is one or two ways. Number one, when you go against inept people each and every day in practice, that's what you go against in the game in your mind. You could dominate it, and these guys are not very good in, i.e., when you do one-on-one with the offensive line drill and you defensive line, and you have an offensive line that can't block you, then you go in there with a false sense of confidence. So, you look at, so they needed a better offensive line to practice against each and every day, more hitting. Than really what we saw last year at a point that they were playing well. But we said they had one flaw, and I still see that flaw in this conditioning. I think I know they change a lot of players and everything, but you got to get it to where a player, every time they make a play, they don't point to the side and come out and everything. So I think that was the one thing that started this year off wrong. Then you had the comment. Then you had some injuries. Then you had the trade. Now you fired the coordinator. Look at the benefit things that have transpired. And there's no way that they could have concentrated on football this time, but they letting a good opportunity get away. Now, the way I look at this, Donna, yes, you only have 8 games left. It's 8 games, correct? And
yeah,
8 games, 5, excuse me. It's 5 games, correct. So I'm already counting if they win. So,
and you try, no, Tony, I think what you're trying to do, you're trying to go backwards to give this team a little better chance to hopefully make up for bad play and hoping to play better down the stretch. No, Tony, they got 5 left.
But wait, the thing about it is, you look at it's about 8 teams that are in the same position. Right now, the NFC is not really good in a lot of positions. You look at Tampa Bay or somebody, Tampa Bay or even Atlanta down here is going to win their division, and they probably won't even have 500. So they're still maybe in the running for a wild card accident. We'll see.
Tony, do you really think that, Tony?
You can't give up. Hey, Donna, that's like when you come on the show every week and you wrong. You don't come on there scared.
Tony, because they got the Dolphins. They got
you never ride you about that defensive back coach. But with that being said, You can't.
You
That's
got
what
your
happens.
I know you got the 4-leaf clover over there, the rabbit foot, because you're really needing to fingers crossed. You're doing all those things, Tony, hoping that a post game. Come on, Tony, be for real.
Oh, but you got to go one-on-one, and you can't. If you know what, Donna, if you give up, that's like we used to say on the last game of the year. Players would have their cars backed up to the stadium ready to go on vacation. That ain't the way we go. We didn't never want to hear the song, I'll be home for Christmas. We wanted to hear y'all be in the playoff. We don't hear that anymore.
That's a song, Tony, that tune might not be playing here. Come on, Tony. Are you going to bet your money on it?
No, but you know, I'm going to do this.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Okay.
But Tony, let's look at this again. Okay, so was it a desperate move for Ron Rivera to fire Jack Del Rio at this time of the season, rather just plan it out, being that now he's going to do the play calling, being that you still got two rookie defensive back coach trying to help out, and Ron Rivera is going to be with the headsets on and whatever? Was this a desperate move of the fact that, we got to do something because the way we played after that Dallas game, other stretches of the season, was this a desperate move on his part that he had to do something?
I don't think it was desperate. I think it was that he gave him ample opportunity. And when they spoke a few weeks ago, and this is nothing but speculation on my behalf, nothing I've heard or anybody have told me, they probably talked about getting rid of those two players. Well, they looked at it in a couple of ways. Both of them are going to be able to leave next year. Both of them are going to need a lot of money to sign them. One of them is injury prone. And then the other thing is, what have you won with him? So when he had to make a decision a few weeks ago, he decided to let the players go. Now, when you come up a week or so after you let the players go and somebody put 44 on you, then you got to let your friend go, who is your coach. And that's what could pretty much happen there. I'm just speculating that. That's like he gave him his chance. Now, he could have maybe fired him a week before and kept the players, and it may would have worked better, but we don't know that. And what I'm saying, so he had his opportunity. You look at this, don't feel sorry for him. He played in the league. He's been in the league. He's a coach in the league. He's failed in the league. He's been successful. You have some guys that would be begged just to get an opportunity, and they haven't got it. So I don't feel sorry for him. And then when he make a remark like he made, and I'm not saying it was wrong or right, I was saying situational. You should think about what you're saying to those guys that are going to war with you out on that field. You got to think about, what did you do to hurt them? I don't know if I've ever since that statement, you tell me, Donna, have you seen this defense look like a top-notch defense? Talk to me.
Well, Tony, rather the defensive players, after that statement was made about a dusting, that they said that they play ball, they don't listen to all that, but just come on, being for real. You're the human person that probably affected you. So as you say, you can forgive, but you don't forget. And I think so many other things has transpired. But you said that, they gave Jack Del Rio his opportunity. Well, they gave Ron Rivera his opportunity too for 4 years. So at this point, why didn't management basically just clean house across the board with 5 games to go, giving Eric Bieniemy possibly a chance to step in as the interim coach to see what you had with him? I'm not understanding, you let him finish out for the last 5 games, but you know that you're not going to sign him back after this year is over. So to get rid of Jack Del Rio and the defensive back coach and not just say, hey, you know what, at this point of the season, because it wasn't just the defense, but this team overall has been disconnected this season. And, they talk about the culture and all of those things, but that needs to be put to bed. So let's talk about Ron Rivera as a coach. Has he won in these 4 years and got this team better? This team is worse this year than it was those 3 previous years. So why not at this stage just clean house and basically say, let's elevate Eric Bieniemy to see what we have in him as possibly a coach next year? Or was management basically saying that we're not for sure that Eric Bieniemy is our guy, being that you didn't do that?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct on that, and that's been a problem with Eric the whole time. He's always been the guy to get the job done, but never the guy that's selected when they're looking at head coaches. And you can look at how many coaches are. I mean, the coach they just fired out at with the Raiders. He was at Denver. He's with the Raiders. He with New England. And he's going to have another job.
Never get a job as a head coach again.
And so what we have to look at is, yeah, Eric may be the person. They looked at what they should have did with Ron, but they look, as everybody said, what Clarence. But that was a good show we had the other day when we had B mentioned Clarence on there, because they said some good things. And one of the things that was said was, okay, they gave him a little break, and they should have. We have to keep the human relation in here. And he has gone through an illness. He has fought it off. He didn't miss days. He still kept trying to fight it. So you give him a little extra. But you do tell him, look here, you got two players here that you can't, that not playing up to potential, except one of them isn't. And then maybe they work. Because look at them. Both of them have been a delight for their teams they went to. Both of them have arrived and got sacks there, where in the last 2 weeks, we got sacks 1 week and none another week. So if you take a look, they probably did give them a little bit, but that's the human element that we have to keep. And that's what championship teams keep. You got to have a hard core, but you got to have the human element, and everyone has to be significant. So, yeah, they may have gave Ron a little bit more time. And to tell you the truth, I'm pulling for him. I hope he can do better than winning 7 or 8 games. He can't now, because he's already, if he can get it 9 games this year, if he was to run the table, I'd say, I got to give this man another chance.
Why, Tony? Why would you give him another chance when you're looking at 3 years where this team has not been successful, and this year they haven't been successful either? So why would you basically say that you want to give him another chance to be the head coach for the 5th year? What is going to change moving forward, Tony?
Through it all. If he could go through it all, and through his own personal sickness, and everything else is going around him. Donna, let's look at how every day, and let's just talk about you and I. We do these shows, we do the podcast and everything. First thing you get up in the morning, bad news is beating you down all during the day. Then you got an illness or something like he has. Then he's trying to fight that. Then you got other things going on in family, other things with players. So you look at his last 3 years, and since the pandemic, everything's been turmoil. So I would have to give him another year just because of that, only if he ran the table. Because if he run this table, he got 4 opponents that's off the chain. So that's telling me that he is coming, come back and beat Dallas for it. Beat this Miami team. I mean, show me you can win, and then I'm going to show you I can give you a little more time. But now if he doesn't win any of these games, or if out of the 5 games he only win 2, got to go.
But Tony, even if he runs the table and win these, what makes you think that he's the coach to move this team forward? What gives you the confidence that he can do this? I understand, like you said, with the sickness and all of those, he didn't have quarterbacks in place or so forth. But as a leader, as far as football, I'm talking about coaching. I'm not talking about culture, because he got the culture right. He was excellent there. But as a coach, Tony, I'm talking about what gives you the confidence to think that even if he runs the table, he is the coach to move this team forward? I'm talking about football-wise.
Okay, and I think I would look at that, because that means he made a great move. Okay, he let a linebacker that he drafted, thought was going to be everything. He left and went to another team. Then you got these 2 defensive linemen that were number 1 draft choices. They left. You fought through that and brought this team back. Then you got a controversy. Nobody talk about it, with your coordinator making some statements that weren't right. Then you had another coordinator that still was calling like it was his dad's team, and he finally got rid of him. So he's had a lot of changes. If he can come out and give me 8 to 9 wins this year, he got 1 more year left. But I can't accept any less than that, because you know what, Donna, when you think about coaching, playing, and anything, athletics or anything else, your job or whatever, your total being is put into it, not just your 8-hour being. In other words, whatever I'm going through or whatever you're going through as a person is part of that personality of playing or trying to coach or whatever. He's been through a lot. Not saying that that's an excuse, but at the same time, I think he's got enough points that we can give him another shot. But I'm also drawing the line. He got to win at least 4 of those games to get that shot.
I'm drawing the line anyway. You said the most. You said the most important word, Tony. That's all I'm hearing from you is excuses, Tony, because this team under him has not elevated. I understand what he.
Why you gonna be so hard on the man? What? Okay.
He brought in Jack Del Rio. He brought in Scott Turner. These were 2 guys that he brought from an organization in Charlotte that was not winning, Tony. He brought in people that he did not set this himself up to be successful from the start. So I'm not buying that, Tony, as far as giving chances, because other coaches have had 2 years, 3 years, and they've had some of the circumstances. But I think on the field, as far as decision making, as the GM, personnel that they brought in here, from the players to the staff, that he's failed there for as far as for this team, and that all plays in. So this week, Tony, as a defensive play caller, he said that he's going to simplify the defense, and he said that he had an opportunity to talk to the players, and the players chimed in, and he said that the players said that they want to play fast. What did that mean? It's basically complicating the defense where they can play faster, and you can talk about of how a team wants to play faster. And he said that they had some complex things in this defense that they've taken out and made it more simple for the players to go out there and play. So Tony, when you and getting back to the basics, he talks about that and focusing on that. So when you look at that, coming up this week as him with the headsets on and him trying to simplify, and he's going to count on all the defensive coaches and then the guys upstairs to be in his ears. That's going to be pretty difficult, Tony, because we talked about on the show about getting into a rhythm. And Eric Bieniemy in the beginning of the season, they struggle, but now he seems like he's in a rhythm. You're playing the Miami Dolphins, and Tony, they don't miss a beat because they've got some talent over there. They're fast, and this defense is, this is the worst game to open up against the Miami Dolphins, a team that's like to pass the ball. They're tops there, and the Commanders are bottom. Tell me how you see this playing out, Tony. Coach,
you know what? You keep asking me, and I keep telling you, I don't see it as bad. I want it if his job's on the line. I want him to go against the 5 best teams in the league, so I can see what he can really do against teams that are already going to the playoffs. And I just look at it that they still have opportunity. Look at it's flaws on all this team. Dallas is only good when you get ahead and you don't run right at them. You can look at Miami. They can score points, but they can be scored on. So you look at each opponent and see what you can do. See how he operates. See how he attacks the game. And then you know what else they want to see, Donna? They want to still see if he got the enthusiasm to do it. And that's going to be tough. So these 5 games, it's not excuses as much as I take a look at everything. It's just like they would start you at point guard before they would start me. They would think because you played that was not a mistake, but it would be a big mistake, don't you?
It wasn't.
I used to score too. I told you they called me the Lone Ranger.
They called you the Lone Ranger. Right. They called you the Lone Ranger. You need it. But look, Tony, the Commanders secondary ranked 29 in yards allowed, and they've given up 49 plays of at least 20 yards. And then you look at, Tony, this defense overall. This defense is ranked 29 allowed with defenses 29th in yards allowed. They're 32nd, Tony, in points allowed. And the last 3 games, Tony, they've given up 404 yards and 35 points per contest in the last 3 weeks. Then you got a Miami Dolphin coming in here with a Tyreek Hill. They're running back. Their tops there, offensive line is one of the better ones. Running game is one of the tops. And you talk about all of these things of opportunity. Well, they're going to have the opportunity to go up against one of the best offensive in football, and the Dolphins have to keep pace in that division of them making the playoffs and all that. I can't wrap my head around what you're saying, Tony.
Yeah, but look at Air Coryell. You remember that from years ago, and then the greatest show on turf and all of them. How many Super Bowls do they have? Okay, scoring a lot of points mean nothing. Miami may be the exact game they need.
What's the record, Tony? What's the Miami Dolphins record?
I have no idea. They're not my team.
Yeah.
That was a good out on that one. I know what their record is, but look at their records when they play against good teams that has a good offense.
When they play against good teams. We were talking about the Commanders. Right now, they're not a good team, Tony.
But they do have a decent offense. They can put 30 on Miami. But the thing, we got to hope this is a big game that the defense come and play to their potential. You talk about people, and I never try to mention names because I don't think that's fair. But some people on here, I see them in the same condition they were in last year at this time and year before. I also see people that they making the same mistake. Wrong angles. As a defensive lineman or a defensive linebacker, if you're supposed to set the edge, and for you fans that don't know what that means, to keep them from getting outside, you can never let them get to your outside shoulder. I see it over and over. It's not about making plays. It's about making a difference. It's about playing the defense and making plays. So what I'm saying is now, when you put the bottom line in, we used to call it arithmetic, but it's only math. It has to come down to schematically. It's not a good scheme. And the way they can speed it up is take away all the difficulty. I got 4 guys rushing. You go here, you go here. You come around, you do this. Don't look at nothing. Don't read. Just go and do what I say. Okay, then I got my linebackers filling in. So, and you said one thing that I disagree with, half of it. You said with that defensive backfield, it's with the whole defense that they're ranked 28. That's the line, the linebacker, and the defensive back. Because coordination.
I just said that the secondary was ranked 29.
You can't blame it all on them.
I gave you the overall defense also. I said that the defensive secondary as far as the passing, but I gave you as far as the defense overall. But we were just talking about, the secondary at one point. But, when you look at the Commanders' offense, they're not a passing offense. But, you look at Sam, he's been sacked 55 times. And you got a Dolphins defense was one of the better in the NFL right now. Their secondary, Tony, is elite. So you're talking about when you look at that Dallas game and the receivers getting open and so forth, you got to look again at another defensive a team that you're going to have to be able to look at the receivers in getting open and maybe running the ball a little bit more. They've got a hard task ahead playing, the Miami Dolphins and on both sides of the ball, Tony. Tua basically has thrown a lot of interceptions, but still, Tony, that offense is potent as far as the Miami Dolphins.
They're potent, but at the same time they have flaws, and then at the same time you're.
I bet you wish you had their flaws as flaws.
Yeah, but you know why their defense is good as it is? It's because their offense is so good. Their offense controls a lot of the game of the clock, and they score, so they get that defense time to rest. But when you look at them overall, Miami's defense is not one of the better ones in the league. They're good enough to win with. So what we're looking at is Eric can pull this thing together and have our offense score 30 points or something, and our defense come up and play the way that they know I can play. That means hit Miami in the mouth. They got a bunch of little pretty guys running around there and running 9-2s.
I like to have those pretty guys. I like to have those pretty guys running around.
That's what you would think about that. See that? It ain't about that. It ain't about looking good in your uniform.
Those pretty guys from Miami, you talk about speeders. I was talking to KJ Henry this week, and I'm going to let you hear what he had to say. He was talking about the speed of the Miami Dolphins, and I said, hey, can you put on your track shoes? He said, I still don't have enough speed to keep up with those guys. But, you got young guys on the defensive side of the ball, and this is an opportunity, like you said, in the next 5 weeks in job security, not only for the coaches, but the players also. this is your audition right now of those contracts that are up. You know, they've got quite a few of them up. Hopefully they're going to sign Cam Curl back because he's a key guy on that defense. And, you know, having Derek Forrest out has helped hurt that defense also. So you would have loved to have him in this game and moving forward, but you don't, Tony. But as you say, Tony, it's opportunities. This team, you know, you don't close the door on them. They do have opportunities. It's a hard a road ahead for them, Tony, and it's a whole bunch of pebbles and holes in the roadway for them. But Tony, you've got the last say because we got to wrap this up.
But I want to ask you one quick question. Why haven't you gone after Cam Newton? We'll answer that on the next podcast. Are you kidding me?
You need to wash your mouth out with soap, Tony. I said you had the last word, but with that comment, Tony, as you say, we don't say goodbye.
We say in the minute with Cam Newton.
No.